And so, welcome to the finance team meeting. We are going to go through the agenda for next week, and that's the order of business for today. And if anyone else has something else they'd like to put on the agenda, just let us know. So usually, Doug, will you do the honors, please?
Sure, absolutely. Let me share my screen so we can all look at the agenda as we're kind of going through this. So, okay, everybody can see my screen, the agenda. Okay, everything.
Yep.
All right, good. Okay. Actually, this isn't. I feel like this agenda is not as bad as some of them.
I thought the same thing when I read it.
Oh, so anyway, all right. Communications. We do have a continued public hearing relative to the Parks and Rec, and a continued resolution relative to the Parks and Rec. So I know this isn't really finance, but if I could just take a second just to touch base on this, just so everybody knows. We've been doing, we had asked the Parks Committee to work on this, and I've really been going a lot back and forth with Mark McNeil and Karen Parkhurst. I know I've talked with some of you about this, but there are a couple little red line changes. I pulled up the red line version versus what we had last month, just so it's easier to see, and I can zoom in on this so it's easier for everybody. Couple little things here. This was just a clarification. Tent camping or camping in a cabin may be allowed. The same with this, just a clarification. We're asking that the trailers be parked not on the lakeside, but instead on the upland, so not to take up so many parking places. Again, just a clarification, cabins, halls, lodges, pavilions, ball fields must be reserved in advance. We have a new system that's working great. We can touch base later on that if you want. All right, and then the meat and the potatoes of what I know everybody's interested in, the facility alcohol beverage control permit. So the gist of this is, after looking at a whole bunch of different municipalities, and Mark and Karen both really dug in and made a bunch of calls on our behalf and discovered, like, some, like for instance, counties allow alcohol in the parks, even though they have rules against it and they don't enforce it. And we found all kinds of stuff like that, where there's nothing, quote unquote, in writing that authorizes it. I guess to protect themselves from a liability standpoint. Anyway, to make a very long story short, what we kind of came back around to, and the Parks Committee actually issued an email that's attached to this, I believe, also. But basically, is that anyone can apply for a facility alcohol beverage control permit if they're renting a facility. And that anybody doing so would have to make application to the town board for their specific event, and that the town board would have the authority to either approve or deny, no one else, the facility alcohol beverage permit for each individual event. So they would obviously have to do it in advance. So even if it was a wedding, or even if it was an event where someone had the proper with caterer and had the license, that would all have to be included in the permit application. Thank you, Michelle. That would all have to be included in the permit application submitted to the town board. Then the town board could review everything and then approve it by resolution. And then the town clerk would be issuing the permit only after the town board has authorized it. So that's the gist of it here. Just scrolling down here a little bit, you see that they have to provide proof of, any person making the application has to provide proof of insurance. The application would need to identify the specific area. We haven't actually created the application yet. We'll do that as long as this is okay with everybody. But the application will actually include specifically the area where alcohol is being served and consumed, so that there's no questions. Like, for instance, in Gorham Lodge only, or wherever the case, and then proof of compliance with the laws for the event. This is specific, excuse me, sorry. This is specific to Ananda Park. So there was some back and forth on that. I know that in a conversation I had with Mark and Karen, the kind of concept was, hey, maybe the town board will let us try this at Ananda Park, especially since we have the additional staff there for this first year, and let's see how it goes. before we opened it up to all the other parks, knowing we have park rangers, knowing we have staff there. When they took that to the Parks Committee said basically they didn't want to bind the hands of the town board, and they wanted the town board to make that decision whether or not it was limited to Ononda Park. But I went ahead and put it in because I think it does make a certain degree of sense, knowing that we have the additional staff at Ononda. If we're going to try it, that's probably as good a place as any to try it, and limiting it to Ononda Park. So, all right, with that, I'll stop.
And Doug, what's the purpose of each one of these things coming to the town board? Because I'm wondering what is the value that we bring to the process? Looking at the name or what, to me, we have things they have to achieve to be able to get this permit. And I'm just not sure what value the town board adds.
Well, I think it would slow down somebody being able to come in at the 11th hour intentionally and getting a permit, truthfully, because it would have to be a well thought out event in advance. Otherwise they wouldn't be able to get the permit. I think that's a big portion. I think that another additional sets of eyes, making sure that everything has been documented and is thoroughly vetted. And you know as well as I do, everything appears on the town board agenda. If there's an issue with a specific event, I think we would figure that out in that time period while it's on the agenda before the town board takes action on it, where it gets additional scrutiny. And it really gives additional oversight. It gives ultimately the governing board the opportunity to either approve it or deny it. Terry, I talked with Terry. Terry, I know you had shared with me that special events used to be approved sometimes by the town board. And I know I had talked to the city manager also. The city council actually does approve special events like this. It's a full city council approval. So that was kind of the thinking, additional, Linda, additional set of eyes, additional oversight, and some level of comfort for the town board, knowing that they would either get to approve it or deny it for each event.
Yeah, see, from my standpoint, it adds a level of arbitrariness to the decision. The same information could come to us one time. Maybe we vote yes, maybe we vote no. And I feel like it's better to have a standard that's uniform that we apply to people and that they have to meet that standard. And if they meet it, they're approved, rather than a group of people deciding yes or no when hopefully they've met every one of the standards that we're establishing for it. That's just my opinion.
So I think it is written.
What if it's not an organization and it's just a family? Say the family's going to rent a cabin for a couple of days, and when they want to bring in a 12-pack to have a beer while they're sitting out, they can't do that, right?
No.
Right.
Terry, I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
I agree with what Doug said. I think that it's a big step for our town. We've never allowed something like this in the past. And documents such as this, these documents are all evergreen. If it works out that it's fine after some period of time, maybe we make a change in it and then reduce it to as long as you check all the boxes, the town clerk gives you the permit sometime down the road. But speaking for myself, I think this is fine. I'd rather take baby steps on something like this than just, go ahead, bring a 12-pack in, do whatever you want.
I can jump in and we can talk about this more on Monday, but I also worry about arbitrariness. What has to be applied equally to everyone, right? We have to avoid, any particular group looking like we just don't like them, right? And if there are a set group of rules, what things would we as a town board be looking at that, let's say, the Parks Department or a person whose job it is to do this couldn't do? I worry about, I don't happen to like this group, though, and I'm just going to say no. But if we said these are the set rules and everybody, if they have them, get it. I believe there may be just a waiting period. I understand the concern. So you have to apply at least, however, a month or whatever we decide.
In advance.
Yeah, that gives someone time to look through and make sure all of these things are done, as opposed to us as a town board arguing over. And I don't think that will happen. And as you say, other places do it, but I think that is a concern. I'm okay with maybe trying it, but I don't want to be in a situation where there's a particular group that, could
I
be
don't think it would.
perceived
Oh,
that,
sorry.
I'm speaking
No.
from a constitutional, due process and all that. I can envision a group saying, we were discriminated against. Possibly. I don't think we would, but you open yourself up.
Then, if you don't think we would, then it shouldn't be an issue.
I know we wouldn't, but that doesn't mean it won't stop someone from
Perceiving
that.
that.
And
People can say whatever they want, and they probably already do about us, so.
So no, they do all the time. So I guess my question is, what is on that list that you would, if everyone has done all of that, could you perceive yourself still saying no?
I think it would depend not on what the group is, but on what the event might be. It might be an event where they're asking to have alcohol and it's really not appropriate. It could be something that's kids oriented. And again, that would be someone's opinion, but maybe that's the direction they were going in with this thing.
Yeah, I think to Joe's point, if I just jump in there, I think a lot of it would depend on what the person fills out on the application for the permit, and then what we put as the questions on the application for the permit. Like, to Joe's point, if there's a large school group that happens to be there, or some large event, at the same time somebody else wants to use the facility and they're looking in their application, they include outdoor area as part of the serving of the alcohol and the selling, maybe that's a no. But somebody's going to have to make that decision. And that's where you do, I think, need some group or entity. And truthfully, I kind of did like the idea of the town board, because the ultimate decision rests with the town board. I feel like, versus just staff saying, okay, here's your permit.
I agree.
So is the application going to be submitted to the town clerk's office, and we're going to review it, make sure for completeness, and then put a resolution on the town board agenda? Is that how this is going to work? I mean, that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. I think you need to have consistency as to who's reviewing these permit applications.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, Gene, we'll have to figure that out and create the actual application and
All
stuff.
right.
But, that's kind of the idea, is that you would then issue it after the town board has passed a resolution.
All right.
And do I read in this newly revised part that the change from last time it could only be an organization, so a family wedding could not do it. But now we are open to that, which is what I think a lot of people were asking for. They were saying, hey, if I'm going to have some little party, I'd like to be able to have the possibility of alcohol.
Right. As long as there's a license involved or a licensed operator, server, caterer is involved, then yes, that is a change versus our previous look at this.
Okay. But it still needs a caterer. Okay.
Yeah.
You could also put something in there, kind of like the St. Mary's Festival, where they serve alcohol, but it's restricted to a certain area. So you don't have people walking around with alcohol throughout the whole park.
Yeah.
Right. That is a concern.
Yeah.
That would have to be in there.
Well, that's why we included that the application has to include the area identified.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
All right, great. Thank you, Doug.
Okay. Let's see. Moving on. So that is the continued resolution associated with that same thing. All right. New stuff. The monthly financial reports. I don't think there is anything in there specific, Kate. I will mention, I put in my report, I ran a quick project budget for the water project, just so you can see those details. We are going to be coming up on financing, doing our bond for that project. And I know that Tammy just sent us the information yesterday, so it missed the agenda. Sent it yesterday afternoon, associated with the bonding rates and all that kind of stuff. But I'll touch base with you guys on Monday night on that. But basically, it's we've got $3 million of WIA money. We had put in $1 million of Canandaigua Consolidated's money. It's a $7.5 million project. That leaves us financing $3.5 million essentially.
And are the rates still looking good, or have they changed?
Yeah, the rates are still good.
Okay.
Unknown where the rates will go, obviously, in the future. And there was a little bit of discussion about that, probably up, but rates are still good for now. We did have a quick conversation about whether or not we should finance less than that and use additional fund balance. However, I'm a little bit concerned about that. And my opinion, it's just, you guys can do whatever you want, but my opinion is we finance the whole 3.5. The reason is we have additional costs that we weren't really expecting originally, like pressure reducing valves and those sorts of things that we're going to need to use some of that fund balance for now until we get details straightened out, whether or not we can recover some of those costs and expenses from another entity. We still have to figure that piece out. But, if we go ahead and bond the 3.5 million, that gives us a lot more flexibility. And additionally, we have to float almost $1 million of the WIA money until the project is closed out and complete. So it really super gets tight.
Okay.
If we don't. So, okay. Okay, Kate, you want to talk about these budget adjustments and these other things here?
Yeah, there were two small town manager budget adjustments that you can see the detail for in the attachment. Those are very small, basic things. Yeah, we had a gentleman donate $200 for a tree. Specifically, he wanted to plant a tree or donate it towards a tree at schoolhouse. So we increased both sides of that. And then there was a small balance for engineering that was just to finish up the green infrastructure grant. So we just needed to move a little bit over there. So those are the small ones. And then the larger ones, you'll see we have a resolution for. The first one here is an authorization for the Water District SW 500. And Jim, feel free to hop in on this as we go through it. But this is for specifically the purchase of new meters. And you can see in the last whereas, we have applied, as I mentioned, for the green infrastructure grant, which we anticipate the award of that to be announced in May, towards the end of the month, but we don't yet know. And Jim and I spoke about the need, and if you'd like to talk about that, Jim, the meters.
Yep. So currently we're running very low on meters. Should have ordered them back in January because now they're taking about 8 to 10 weeks to get meters and have a chip shortage. So we are unable to upgrade any of our meters, which I was looking to do starting this year due to not getting access to them. So I want to purchase 200 of them to have them here so we can put them in while we get more money budgeted for next year to start increasing the replacement of the water meters in the district themselves, because many of them are coming up end of life for the battery usage that we did 10, 11 years ago.
And can you remind us, what's the size of the grant that we applied for that we're waiting to hear on the green infrastructure?
500, somewhere around there, Linda.
500,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, I think I have bad news. I was texting back and forth with Emily last night, and they were announcing them last night, and we didn't see an announcement for Canandaigua, so
We may not get it.
we may not get it.
Okay. All right. We'll wait and see. Any
Okay.
other questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
All right, Kate and Jim, you guys can keep rolling because you were working on a couple of these.
Yeah, the 2020 budget report, this next one, 114, this is just an acknowledgement of the adjustments that you guys approved last month, where we made the adjustments to the cash accounts and a couple of the accounts receivable and cleaned up some of the problems that we had that were outstanding from the past. So what Doug's got here is the bank reconciliation form. You can see this is as of April 30th. And everything now excitedly is balancing. All of our outstanding transfers and deposits are accurate. All of those numbers are accurate as of current day. So this resolution is simply acknowledging that we've now made those entries and that at the end of the day, there was the charge, small charge to the 1010-401 expense line as of 12/31/20. So this is giving you the new updated 2020 budget report and showing you the reconciliation.
Great job.
Congratulations. It's a beautiful site. Thank you so much for your work. I might
Thank you
frame
so
that
much.
line.
Time and energy
So-
into that. Kate's done a great job with that.
Yep.
The next one is telephone systems. We talked about it. I think it was now at the end of March that we had the conversation in Finance Committee. I did have to clarify a few things with First Light. There were a few things in their proposal to us. It had come to us kind of last minute, and as I dug into it to confirm, there were a few things that needed to be changed. For example, we needed the 2 fax lines. And then as part of the phone upgrade, they also need to upgrade our internet to the faster line. So the total monthly reoccurring charge with the internet and the telephone will be $901.55 for a 36 months term.
Right?
This one is the acknowledgement of the grant funds that we received. We received 75% of the WIA grant, that 2.25 million, and then the remaining is kind of on hold until the project has reached completion. So back in January, you guys approved a transfer from the general fund of 1.5. Now that we've received the 2 million, we are returning that, as it did have a 90-day turnaround as a
We
part of
authorized
that.
it for 90 days is what you're saying.
Yep.
Are
Yep.
we expected to put more money in later? I think we are, right? For the rest of the amount or no?
What do you mean? So the capital project itself is the 7.5 million.
Right, so we're
So we-
expected to contribute more later, right?
We already put in the million into the
Right.
project, plus we have the so you can see it's 2.2 million, right? And then there'll be the bond. So we have a ban right now, a bond anticipation note that is helping to float the project. And
Okay,
then we'll have to pay that off and then do the bond of the 3.5 million.
so we won't end up putting another 1.5 back in.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, not,
No.
well, we wouldn't be increasing the project. Is that what you mean to 9 million?
No, I don't mean increasing the
Just-
project. I just meant, are we gonna have to make another loan later back?
I
No.
think barring unforeseen circumstances, we're in a pretty good position, but you know, we could never say for sure, but I think we're in a good spot right now.
All right, good, as far as cash is flowing.
Yeah, correct.
Okay,
Yeah, we're watching it. There are some, and we can talk more about that at a later time and stuff too, but there were some expenses that we, like those pressure reducing faults that we weren't really expecting that are associated directly with this project. I think a few other things too, right, Jim?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. 117 is to close the municipal waste reduction and recycling grant. That was H29 project. This project was for 2020, and it was so unfortunate that 2020 went a little awry, because I know Caitlin had a really long list of projects and different things she wanted to work on. We were able to work on some of them. I would say about 50% of the grant we were able to complete and submit for reimbursement. But that did leave a cash remaining. And when we requested an extension, they actually encouraged us to apply again. So it was pretty clear they weren't going to extend the one we had already received, unfortunately. So at this point, what we'll do is return the cash balance. There were 2 interfund transfers. One was the CL fund, that was the specific to waste reduction fund. And then there was another equal match from general. We used up all the CL funds and some of the general funds, and this returns the remaining general funds of $13,192 back to the project. And some of that, I will note, is actually our revenue. Caitlin implemented the program to sell the compost bins. And over 2 years, we did have quite a bit of revenue, about $2,500 in revenue from that. As well. So that is part of the 13,000 that's coming back.
great.
Kate, you're
This
doing
one-
such a great job. You guys can keep going here.
I was gonna defer to Jim.
Okay, this one here is, ask the board to, take 8,000 from fund balance and put it into maintenance contractual. We have to clear some trees around 2 ponds at Lakewood Meadows, so the labor and equipment to do so. That's what this is asking the board to approve. And then the same thing with the other Fox Ridge drainage.
So
Right.
just to be transparent, these are non-budgeted expenditures. These were not planned for 2021.
Correct.
So this would be increasing the budget by $8,000 for both of these, for these special
Correct.
districts, just so everybody's aware.
Jim,
then
you
that-
anticipate that being just the maximum it could cost, but likely will be a little less than that. Is that what you said?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I budgeted 8,000, but it could go faster than that. So
Well, in
So-
reality, it's our labor, right, that's doing this?
correct.
So while the fund, while it's coming out of this fund, the net effect to the town is probably zero, right? Because the labor would have been on the highway side.
Right. We're going to reimburse the
Yeah.
highway for the labor.
Jim, is the whole 8,000 labor though? Isn't there
No.
equipment rentals and there's other things
No.
in it too, right?
There'll be probably 3 guys, the chipper and a piece of equipment to help us get them down.
So there'll be some. It won't be the full 8,000 for each, but it'll be some.
Yeah,
Correct.
But we have to pay the guys anyway, so
Right.
to your point, so.
And then it's the same here for Fox Ridge. So the same situation, $8,000 to remove trees from the pond.
Okay. Any questions on that one? No? Okay. Kate, why don't you, Kate, let me just set this up and Kate can talk a little bit about the agreement because Kate actually drafted this for us and did a great job with this. Back in 2015, Pine Bank Cemetery came to the town of Canandaigua and they were concerned about trying to remain basically their own association and covering their costs. And at that point in time, there was an agreement made by the town supervisor with the Pine Bank Cemetery that the town and the town board would approve it through the budget process. The town would make a $5,000 contribution annually to Pine Bank Cemetery Association for essentially maintenance services. The New York State Comptroller does not allow us to make in-kind gifts, donations, obviously. So I've been wanting to do, we were actually started to go down this road last year and it got sidetracked with COVID, but been wanting to do some sort of formal agreement and what the town gets in return for exchange of the services. And so Kate drafted up, worked with them and drafted up an agreement. Do you want to touch on that, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. We had a great meeting with the Pine Bank board, a couple of members of the board. They were fantastic. It was great to meet with them. And what we did was we just talked about some of the things that they actually are already doing that provide services to the town. They participate every year in the Cheshire Memorial Day event. They also take really, really good care of the cemetery by having some decreased expenses for lawn maintenance over the last few years. They've been able to preserve some of the headstones. There's a lot of older headstones that have some historical significance for the town. And they also have been cleaning and repairing the ones that maybe aren't being maintained by the families. So there were a lot of things that Pine Bank was already doing as far as service and maintenance that was easy to document. So in our discussion, what we determined was we would have a situation more like with the Historical Society, where we make a donation at the beginning of the year, and they provide the services that at this point are pretty much already in place, but this is now formalizing it. So we also asked if they would be open to working with the town historian. Leaf is really excited. I know Ray was here meeting with him yesterday. He's been really digging in head first, diving in. So this just, as Doug said, formalizes the agreement. The current agreement here that we're looking at is only for 2021. This would be something we would revisit each year at the organizational meeting.
So just so the board's aware also, I asked specifically about their annual expenditures, and they're right around $12,000 a year is the total expenditures for the cemetery operation of the cemetery. If for some reason the association defaults, guess what? We inherit those
Yeah.
expenses.
Right.
Because then it becomes a park or a town responsibility, as well as the other cemeteries. So, there's certainly, even though that's not in writing there, um, there's another little carrot for continuing to work with them associated with that. So
Exactly. That's what happened with the Academy Cemetery down on Seneca Point Road a number of years ago, that they just didn't have the ability to continue the maintenance, and they turned it over to the town, and town has to accept that dedication. So yeah, this is a good move.
and they're excited too. They have plenty of sites left, plenty of plots left. It's a great group. They want to get more people involved. We even had talked to them about them starting to do like a little update periodically in our newsletter and share them with the community information that's going on at the cemetery and some of the things that they're doing. And they definitely have more plots available, and they would like more involvement from the community. So hopefully that one's a win-win. All right, Kate, you've been working on this next one here too. Kate's been busy this month.
This one is the direct energy renewal. Back 2 years ago, we went through the entire process with the organization called MEGA, the Municipal Electric and Gas Alliance, and we looked at all the different options for natural gas. This is just the supply, as NYSEG does the delivery. But we have reached our expiration date at the end of July when they do our reading. So Direct Energy has drafted for us a new proposal based on the same pricing structure as last time, which is a fixed basis with a variable that has a cap of $4. And actually, at this point, the fixed basis charge is $2 less than it was when we originally signed up. That was about 3.3. Now it's 1.3.
This just keeps getting better and better, because I think originally it was $8 is what we were paying, and then it came down to like $3 and change, and now it's down to $1 something. And by the way, this MEGA Municipal Electric and Gas Alliance, this is also the same as the county uses. That's how we originally got introduced to it. But this is open to also not-for-profit organizations. And I've been sharing this with some of our not-for-profits in the community. For instance, I'll give you an example like Quail Summit, so that they could also sign up with MEGA and enjoy some of these same lower rates.
Maybe the fire departments too.
Yeah.
We have shared it with them. I'm not sure if they
Okay.
made the switch, but we have shared it with them. So, all right. Any questions on that?
Good news.
Nobody has any questions when you're saving money. It's like that. Speaking of saving money, we're not saving money on this next resolution. Lindsay, go ahead. Your turn at bat here. Hiring staff for the.
Oh boy, now we're not saving money. So this should wrap up our seasonal hiring. So I would say after this list, I would still be looking for one more lifeguard. But otherwise, our seasonal staff, we are set for the summer. So this is our last big bunch of people for our 2021 season.
Lindsay is doing a phenomenal job with parks, and really, Lindsay and I meet every single Thursday at 2 p.m. We go through stuff for the upcoming week. We're working through some issues and some hurdles, but Lindsay is taking the bull by the horns, and I've heard good things already. Parks and really getting Ananda focuses right now on Ananda ready to go. We had our Citizens Academy yesterday with Heather from the city, who's been coordinating our recreation side of things. And the recreation programs are almost completely sold out for the entire summer. There's actually a waiting list. They said that she was saying that we could double, even if the state doubled what the capacity is, we would still have a waiting list.
Wow.
Waiting list. So Lindsay, you want to just touch on this next two?
Yes. Okay. So we also have an open position because our full-time parks laborer, Jonathan, resigns effective April 24th. So we are now appointing a full-time parks laborer who has amazing experience. So myself and Doug interviewed quite a few applicants, and We have appointed our full-time parks laborer, and we're going to do an hourly rate of $18 an hour. And then after 6 months, we will bump it up to 19 based on all the experience that he's bringing with him to the town. But he's going to be a very good fit. I'm very excited. Very excited.
Good.
And Lindsay is really hands-on with our parks maintenance staff, and they're reporting directly to her. She's giving them even daily updates on direction to go and everything, trying to address some other issues that we're having. But Lindsay's really doing a great job with all that.
Thank you, Doug. We're getting there.
Procurement policy. I want to pull this up. This was actually a request from Jim, is how this kind of started. And let's see, do I have a red line version here? This is, that's the resolution. Sorry, guys, wrong thing. Let me go back. This is basically a quick amendment to the procurement policy that designates highway and or special district related expenses needing a purchase order once they exceed $3,000. Do you just want to touch base on that, Jim? I think some of the folks were on the committee meeting, but
with the rise in cost of everything, we're finding ourselves going over on things we typically have not gone over on for $1,000. It's creating more work for myself, and Caitlin and Jim here to constantly look for quotes for anything over $1,000. I used to buy brass fittings, normal everyday stuff like raincoats for less than $1,000, and I find myself now that I go over it and I have to scramble to find quotes to get another quote to submit for a PO because it's over $1,000. It's just creating more work for everybody in the office and kind of a little bit of anxiety because we don't have the information and I've already bought the stuff. So that's why I'm asking to go from 1,000 to 3,000.
So by not having a PO, we're paying for things after the fact?
Do I? Yes.
I mean, a PO doesn't, just because you have to do a PO, doesn't mean you have to get a quote. You could say you don't need a quote for anything except for over $3,000, but whatever. I mean, I one way or another, I don't care. It was just a question I had, because a lot of times if there's a possibility you could buy something for $2,000 that someone didn't, they're going to say, why did you buy this? And you're stuck paying for it now.
Because you don't have a purchase order.
Right.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It really comes down to.
I'm just being the devil's advocate here. That's all.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't that we were trying to overspend $1,000. It was more of a reality that things that once weren't costing as much, Joe, now cost more than we didn't typically have to get second quotes for.
Yeah, so I don't think we're not eliminating the purchase order, we're eliminating the extra quotation process. Is that what we're doing, Jim?
Right, up to 3,000.
So we will still have a purchase
no.
order.
No,
for
this eliminates the
most
purchase
items.
order.
It's eliminating a PO.
We did.
Well, say that one more time, I'm sorry.
This would eliminate the purchase order up to the 3,000.
Up to the 3,000, correct.
So, I can understand the second quote one, but shouldn't almost everything have a purchase order, or is that too hard?
That's the
But
way
I would never leave this desk if I had to get a purchase order for everything we bought.
Oh. So
It does become challenging, and truthfully, there's a lot of times where Jim and I are talking back and forth, or I'm asking Kate to follow up with Jim on purchase orders because, Jim may have to replace tires on the truck, one of the big trucks, and they could easily be $1,000, $1,100,
Right.
and he needs a purchase order, and then he needs quotes for that and everything else. Meanwhile, he's already ordered the tires, truthfully, because the truck's got to, keep on the road. So those are some of the challenges with that process that I know that he's run into over the years.
Well, and that's why I saw a difference in going for extra quotes as opposed to just documenting that we're buying it from a person. I thought that the purchase order pretty much puts down that Jim's buying tires. The other one says, hey, let's go out and find somebody else to make sure we're paying the right price for it. You know, there's two different processes in my mind. Is that, and
In
what's
our
it?
procurement process, those two have merged with the addition of the purchase order and the purchasing option on Encode. The ideal way that the system works is that the request for the purchase order be submitted prior to the ordering of the goods. And typically that is done by collecting several quotes. And what Jim has run into is that, say, for example, the coats. I know with the coats he's ordered every single year, they've never come over $1,000. But this year, because of the increase in the cost of the materials, it came over $1,000. So now he's at the end of the process finding out that it is now subject to having to collect multiple quotes. So I think the idea is to eliminate that down the line where we can do it. But I think if the board still wanted to see a purchase order, you know, we could, I don't think that's out of the question.
I mean, I guess Joe is our resident expert on these kind of things, so I would leave it up to him. If he feels like that it's reasonable to not have purchase order, or if you could divorce the two from the need for quote to a higher level and keep the purchase order. I don't know if there's value in that. I kind of think there is, but I'm not an expert.
Yeah, there's value to having a PO, but I can see the point too, where there are a lot of times when you just need to go out, you need to get something and you need to get it now. You
Right.
can't go around with doing a PO and saying, okay, Doug, can you approve this? Or whoever has to approve it, can you approve it? And the next thing you know, it's 2 or 3 days later. And like you said, he's without a truck with a flat tire that needs to be replaced. I was just bringing it up as just a pointed quick discussion. I didn't mean to drag this thing out, but
Okay. All right.
I can see your point.
Sounds
I have
good.
a quick
I think
question regarding,
you have to be careful that you're not avoiding the state purchasing requirements too. You know what I mean? The municipal law.
Well, I believe that's through Public Works up to 35,000, Joe.
Right, but the 35,000 it's not for each purchase, it's an aggregate. So
Right.
if you're buying tires and say, okay, well, I'm buying tires at $5,000, but during the year you bought another 40,000, then you've got a problem.
Well, then, just so you know, that we always use state bid for tires.
Oh, okay.
That
All right,
covers
that's
the tire part, so.
All right, I'm good with that. Like I said, I was just being the devil's advocate. Probably should have kept quiet so we didn't waste any time.
That's okay. It's good to talk about it.
so I have a quick question regarding state bid. So if something is on state bid, we don't have to get additional quotes, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and also use the sole source well agreement, also with like Monroe County, Livingston County, Onondaga, Cattaraugus, and Chautauqua all have piggyback agreements, Jane, that allow other municipalities to use those same quotes.
Right. And if you can deem it an emergency purchase, you can do it as well.
Correct.
Which really gets into a gray area, but
Yeah, really.
Well, good tutorial on purchasing. Thank you.
all right. This next resolution, I got a phone call a couple of weeks ago from Mary Kay Banshaw, who is our point person at Canandaigua National Bank. And the Canandaigua National is going through some changes, and they're really, it sounds like really, what would I call it, fine tuning online access specifically and administration of accounts. And what they told me is that they are changing their system. And so if you're the administrator of an account, you have to be, it's basically all the same accounts. So for instance, because Jean is our town clerk and her bank accounts, the town clerk bank accounts are separate. But we also, when we did this, we made Jean the administrator of the town's bank accounts. What they're telling me is that we would have to consolidate basically our accounts, and that essentially, if Jean was going to continue to be the administrator of the town's accounts, then basically everybody would have signature authority on Jean's accounts for town clerk, as well as all the people that have signatory authority on Jean's accounts would be on all the town accounts, which I don't think is what we want to do. So to separate this, and Mary Kay actually had suggested this, and we've run into this a couple of different times. I think I've talked to you guys about this in the past. Mary Kay said, why don't you just, if it makes sense to the board, designate the town manager position as the administrator for the account, because that's who they're usually contacting anyway for any of the administrative stuff, and then leave everything else the way it is. The easiest way to fix that. So anyway, happy to answer any questions if I can.
So you're going to be the administrator for all the town accounts, including the clerks?
Nope,
Oh,
town clerk is separate. By doing this, we keep them separate so that the town clerk is separate, the town justice accounts are separate. So I already have signature authority on the town accounts. This just is the point person basically for the bank.
and it's taking Jean off of it. Is that what it's doing?
Nope, she still has signature authority also. It's just a change for the administrator, the point person. That's all it is.
Okay. All right.
It's an internal thing with CMB. It doesn't change any of the signatures, or it doesn't, you know, Kate does wire transfer stuff. It doesn't change any of that. That all stays the same. And it's linked to the positions. So like the town supervisor position, the town manager position, the town clerk position. So
Okay.
Sounds benign.
it really should be, but they officially, to make their
Yeah.
change here, you need a resolution. So okay. Kate, can you just walk us through?
Yeah, absolutely. So this next one is a budget adjustment for the highway general repairs. That's the DA 5110-400 expense line that is linked directly to Jim's 284 agreement. And what we're doing here is Jim has provided some information from the DOT. We're looking at upside down that we highlighted for you. They originally put out, right, Jim, some reduced numbers for the PAVE, EWR, and CHIPS reimbursement programs, and have since come back and increased that. In addition to the increase in the reimbursement for 2021, they also notified us that we were eligible for $44,640 in rollover funds from last year because they hadn't awarded the full amount. They were very conservative with what they were reimbursing last year. So really exciting news for the highway department because it'll keep them really busy this year. But what it equates to is an increase in the revenues for a total of $448,397,000 from the state. So what we're doing here is in conjunction, we're going to increase the revenue, and then we'll also increase the general repairs line. The net increase is $170,000. And then the total of the 5110-400 would be $961,000. $961,002 for general repairs to be done this year. So this budget adjustment is considering that the state will fully reimburse. But I think Jim has expressed confidence in that number. Jim, is that accurate?
It is. The only thing going, this might be a 1-2 year deal. This is the first increase we've seen in 9 years in the CHIPS funding for towns from the state. I think a lot of this money is coming from the federal government, so we'll have to see what it does next year. We might not see as much, but this year we're getting it, so we'll take it and fund it.
Right. And the next one is amending your 284
It
agreement?
is, correct. Other than, not much has changed, other than we're just gonna basically pave more roads, is what we're gonna do.
So what did you add in?
Under number 4, asphalt and concrete repair of various roads.
Oh, okay. So it's not really anything specific there.
No, there's concrete gutters replaced at Charing Cross, paving parts of Seneca Point and Kramer Road, fiber mat, Foster Road, but a lot of it's going to be fixing shoulders.
Okay.
Is there any indication, Jim, of what the cost will be for asphalt this year? I mean,
Yeah, it's already more expensive, Terry. Everything's more expensive. So, I mean, it will help us. Yes, it's a lot of money, but at the end of the day, you
yeah,
know, it's not going as far as it could have in the past.
yeah.
Definitely.
All right.
Okay. Lindsay or Jim, you want to touch transfer station labor?
So we recently, about a month ago, Bruce decided he didn't want to work part-time for the transfer station. Lindsay helped me canvass for a couple of people to work the transfer station to replace him. His name is Brecken Allgood. He started 2 weeks ago, I believe, and he's been working out just fine. He's been wanting to work here for over a year, so he likes it. He's doing a good job. So Todd said he's doing a good job out there, so Fairway's happy.
I don't think I told you or Lindsay or Jim, either one, but his mom even called me and said that she really wanted him to get this job and that she was going to make sure he showed up, and if there was any issue.
Oh,
Oh my
that
goodness.
makes me so happy to hear stuff like that. I love that.
I've seen him out there working. He's a hustler.
Yeah.
He's right on the job. So
Great.
I get really passionate when we pick the right people. Makes me so happy.
This resolution is for the contractors asking for an extension of finals or substantial completion, only because we've been slow getting material still for the finished work of our project. And what I mean by that is like hinges, door closures, locks, exhaust fans, just small stuff that just is not getting in just due to all the delays of finding it. So we're doing them both, Calcino and Crane Hogan. And the reason is that way there the warranty will both start at the same time for both contractors. And also why we're doing both of them.
All right.
All right, I see an error on the agenda.
I was gonna say, isn't this the same one?
Yes, it is. That just needs to be crossed out. It just is a duplicate on there.
All right,
Anyway.
perfect.
And then on to payment of the bills, and then we need to have some discussions town board level relative to kind of next steps on what you want to do relative to the cannabis legislation. I do anticipate, I got a phone call yesterday from a gentleman who is very, very passionate. He's a resident of the town of Canandaigua, who does not want the town to opt out. And he, I believe, is going to speak under privilege of the floor, just to give everybody a heads up. But I think basically the way I left that conversation with him is I suggested that he go ahead and, kind of do his initial thing under privilege of the floor and request maybe that next month, if he wanted to do a presentation, that he could make that request to the town board. Because he would really like to do a presentation on all of his reasons why he thinks the town should not opt out of the cannabis legislation. So, and then obviously we can have conversations with the board about whether or not you're ready to set a public hearing and all that good stuff too. So, I
just wanted to mention, I listened to that podcast yesterday, Doug, that you sent out, I think on Monday of this week. It was very interesting. There was a law professor, a dean of a law school. I can't remember the name of the school right now, but she was very interesting. She came at the question from a land use perspective, which is her area of expertise. And kind of interesting, some of the permutations and combinations that you can get into with, this new legislation. And I'd recommend listening to it. It's about 30 minutes long, but it's pretty good.
I think
Yeah,
Kathy
she's-
knows her, right?
Yeah, Churro Law School. I went to undergrad
Yeah.
and law school with her.
Where is that, Kathy?
I think it's downstate somewhere.
Okay.
I could be wrong about that. But I went to Albany Law School with her, and undergrad. She's always been very passionate about land use.
Yeah.
And most of us didn't even know what that was.
Doug, the inclusive playground item that was at the end?
Yeah, I want to talk to the board about that. We need to talk about the name of the playground. They would like to name it. I just want to have a conversation with you before we advance official resolutions, obviously. And then maybe with the town making a financial contribution, I'll get the specifics for you for Monday night, but they've raised all the money for the playground itself. They've ordered the equipment. They're a little bit short on the poured in place material. Jim, what's that called?
It's a rubber, basically a cast in place rubber foam that gets placed in different depths underneath the playground apparatus. So instead of having mulch, it's a pervious material. The water flows through it, and it also bounces like a foam, piece of foam.
Is that like the material they used out at that playground at Creekview in County Road 10? Sounds like it. I mean,
No, Terry,
That was more like an artificial grass, wasn't it?
I thought so. That's what I
Yeah,
thought
it was-
too.
it was real spongy and porous, and, you know.
This I know is hard though, because you can like
Okay.
wheel a wheelchair across it or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's-
that out there it supported me walking on it. So, you know, it was rather resilient. So,
Uh-huh. I was going to just bring up something that I think Gene or Kathy maybe sent out the other day from Baxter about water, not be able to charge for, the late water charges, re-levies.
That was me.
Can we,
Jean may have done it too.
can we look at who hasn't paid and increased their first 8,000 gallons to make up the difference? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, Terry, you didn't pay your water bill last year, so this year you're gonna pay $8 a thousand, so we get reimbursed. I don't know if it's legal or not, but the thought I had. 'Cause,
Question
you know,
for
you
our
go-
town attorney.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. I think we need to talk to the town attorney
Yeah.
about that.
okay.
I
All
bet the
right,
town
well,
attorney's going to say no.
Well,
But
because
yeah,
what
but I
is
mean,
our,
you're still accounting for it, right, Jim? I mean, we
We're
know.
still accounting for it,
it's
but I
still- Their
mean-
account is just past due, right? It's-
Yeah, I mean, well, typically the county makes us whole, they go after their taxes, but
Right.
I want to say it was, I don't know, Kate, was it 30,000 last year? You remember? I don't remember. I don't know. But just saying, you know, you go another year to just, you know, say you have to 50, 60,000. So maybe it wasn't that much. Maybe I'm over. I just
I
thought
think
it
it
was.
was, yeah, I think it was a little lower than that, Jim, because it's
Okay.
only the customers who have completed the form, right? Correct, that have their penalties waived. And I believe you have less than a dozen that have done that. So I think when I talked to Caitlin, she said she has to resend out the
Yeah.
forms. And then we'll see how many of those come back this time and go from there.
That's for the late.
I think it was fairly minimal. I think it was about 20,000 maybe.
All right. Well,
Doesn't the town board have the ability, I thought, and this is also an Adler question, to also re-levy those types of past due expenses on the next year's tax bill?
I believe that's what as Gary Baxter said, we cannot re-levy again.
Well, I think that's the county collecting and making it whole, but can't the town levy associated with the town taxes?
I don't know what this
I
new
don't-
law. I think the whole idea is to still kind of along the, can't evict people, can't, have to give them some leeway, but I honestly don't know. That is
I don't know.
Hit the wrong button, you guys, I'm sorry.
just a reminder.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So that's all I had. I just wanted to bring it up, see if we can charge more per thousand to get the money we're still owed.
So are we gonna check with Chris Nadler to find out what our real legal recourse is?
Yeah, we'll definitely need to.
Yep.
And then I mean, those are perfect types of things where we should have conversations, with the town board also, make sure everybody's on board with whatever direction we're going.
Okay.
Has there been any more communication regarding those Biden bucks that we're supposed to be getting, the 1.4 million or so that,
Oh, the American Recovery Act.
I know
Yeah,
the county portal opened up like yesterday or today, and I was looking at that, and it's still, the local government handouts, I guess, are coming through the state, which was
Yeah,
something
so
they were not.
the state passes on. So the town of Canandaigua was supposed to get 1.2 million. 50% of that is supposed to be advanced up front by June the 11th is the date, because it's 60 days from the date that the president signed it, and then the state of New York has 30 days to extend it. However, the state of New York to forward it on to the local municipality, because we're a non-eligible is our category. But then the state of New York actually has 30 days extension that they can grant themselves. So it could go as late as June 11th, July 11th. But here's the real asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. We're still waiting for all the details. And I know details are even being released yesterday. I specifically read one caveat in there that says, if you can't prove a loss of the revenue or a increased expense, you have to return the money to the federal government. So I want to be really super careful.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Let's
we
just not
didn't,
go and spend that.
yeah, we didn't have a bad year last year in terms, financial terms, so.
Yeah.
That'd be difficult to prove perhaps, so.
I couldn't pave a road, Terry. I lost revenue, okay?
Doug, do you know, I know that, and I just started reading this again, it's confusing. If that money, if you can consider losses to businesses in the area, like to help restaurants and that was my understanding.
Yes, I believe that you can. Then we'd have to set up a way to do that. But yes, I believe
that's a whole nother set of
right
things. Is who do you give it to? Yep.
That same act has a restaurant.
Yep, restaurant recovery portion.
Yeah,
too.
that is interestingly really covering.
I've used restaurants, but whatever business we're talking about, yes, they have their own slice of the pie. So
yeah.
I said to Kate, when we get the check for the 600,000, just please put it in the investment account and don't touch it. So
yeah,
keep it sequestered. If we might have to give it back.
I have to pop off, guys. I also wanted to thank Linda and Joe for their help and an extra set of eyes in helping us finally balance the books. I meant to say that earlier, and so thank you for your help too. So gotta go, guys. Sorry.
Okay.
Bye, Kathy.
Bye. On this recovery fund, we should probably go line by line and see if there's anything that we, could show.
Well, so excuse me, yes, but we also need all the specific details, and that's what I'm trying to get right now.
Oh, I agree.
We had to purchase additional technologies and computers and those types of things to put the workforce remote, right? So I was thinking that could take a big chunk of it. Hopefully, we had to buy all kinds of PPE stuff and all that kind of stuff, but we need all the details on specifically
exactly. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay. Are there any other questions or topics that we should discuss? No?
Nope.
That being said, we will adjourn and see everyone on Monday.
Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.